Hello, viewers. This is attorney Naresh M. Gehi, and my topics are going to be specifically focused upon what is going to happen once if the new president gets sworn in. So let's talk about what is going to happen once if Trump becomes president and what can we expect in the first 100 days. This is just my personal analysis, how I see the picture, and this is just my opinion. Number one is what can we expect? So if you look at the election process, Trump's biggest trump card was immigration. So therefore, you're going to see some massive enforcement from ICE. ICE is Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which means enforcement will be at its peak in the first 100 days of the Trump administration's taking over the White House because Trump has promised the people of the United States that he is going to go after people who are undocumented in the United States. So, undocumented means people who are out of status, people who have overstayed the visas, people who've crossed the border and come into the country, people who have criminal records in this country, and they have been living in America. So, that is how the Trump administration is going to target people. And above all, they're going to definitely look into the border crisis. So he has also said that he is going to speak to the Mexican president to make sure that all these border crossings come to an end, especially because there are too many people who've crossed the border and come into America, according to Trump. He has also said that he is going to put a 25% tariff upon Mexican goods entering into the United States if the Mexican government is not going to help the United States to control the influx of immigrants from Mexico. So you're going to look at Trump focusing heavily upon immigration, and he's getting some very tough people in his administration to enforce the immigration laws of the United States. Now, in terms of enforcement, I believe that you are going to see enforcement. And number one is that the best thing for you to do is if you are dating someone, get married and get your green card out of your way. If you're out of status, try to get legal as soon as possible. And the way I look at it is the number one priority for him is going to be the border. Secondly, after that, he is going to go after people who are dangerous criminals. But this does not mean that you are not going to see people getting picked up from their houses. This has happened in the past. So you're going to see ICE coming to people's houses, picking up people who are out of status in this country. And you're going to see worksite enforcements for people who are hiring people without any papers, which means that if you're working in a store or you're working in places, there'll be a very, very solid worksite enforcement policy in place. So employers can be fined, employees will be detained, and they'll be sent to immigration court. And after that, if they win, hallelujah. If not, they'll have to look at the immigration options. Especially when it comes to IT companies, they're going to go and you're going to see a lot of site visits. H1Bs are going to get very difficult in terms of RFEs, and green cards are going to get very difficult. And I believe that the consulate has already been given a lot of powers under the matter of Munoz and under the matter of Patel. So the sad thing is that there'll be very limited avenues for people when it comes to immigration. And also, as you all rightly know, that the House will be controlled by the Republicans, the Senate will be controlled by the Republicans, and you're also going to look at everything being controlled. The president belongs to that same party. So therefore, the thing is that what you're looking at is that immigration is going to be very restrictive in the United States of America. DACA, let's see what they do. But I hope that the president will at least have a soft corner for people who've been here forever on DACA. And these are just wonderful children. And I think America needs to do something about them because they came to this country involuntarily. Involuntarily means they were brought into the situation. And I think it's time for the system to have mercy upon these wonderful children. At the same time, Trump plans on getting rid of birthright citizenship. But I think that's going to be a tough call, according to me. More as someone who's a very experienced lawyer, I feel that's going to be a very tough call for him, especially because I think he'll have to get a two-third majority from Congress, which is very hard to get. And I think that's one thing, there's a silver lining that may not happen. So this is how we see it. Now, how can people prepare? Number one is if you're undocumented, start meeting with very good lawyers, especially because if you're out of status, you came in on a visit visa, start meeting up with a lawyer. If you're dating someone, start proposing to the person, I want to get married A lot of people that have been saying in my office, they're saying, Mr. K, I have someone, but I didn't want to get married to her. I didn't want to get married to him. Time for you to talk. Marriage is the number one way for you to get your status in order. Number one. Number two, if you are in the United States and if you fear persecution in your country because of your race, your religion, your membership in a social group, or because of your political opinion, consider asylum. And sometimes you may be able to file a late asylum case. At least that is going to keep you legal in the country if you have a bona fide fear of persecution. That's number two. Number three is even if you marry a green card holder, there's a saying in English that something is better than nothing. That may be valuable to you. The next thing is that if you have been a victim of trafficking in this country, which means that if you were trafficked into this country to perform any kind of slave labor, or if you're forced into prostitution, or if you're forced into working long hours by people who got you in this country, you may be eligible for the T visa, T as in Tom T visa. Other than that, if you have been a victim of crime in this country, and like if you've helped law enforcement, you may be eligible for a U visa. If you're a parent in this country who came in with papers, and if your children are over 21, and if they are US citizens, they may be able to apply for you, and you may be eligible for a green card. And if you are someone who's under 21 in the state of New York, specifically New York, and if you have been abandoned by your parents or if you have been abused, you can even find a guardian of New York and apply for guardianship, and you may be eligible for a green card. So there are ways out there. If you married someone and if that person is abusing you and you lost your green card because you were scared, you may be eligible for battered spouse or under VAWA to get a green card. So folks, there are ways around. What is the biggest mistake people are going to commit, especially in IT companies, H1B visa holders, EB1A applicants, anyone and everyone? You should not take your immigration matter lightly at this stage. Start thinking about becoming legal. And one of my favorite things is you never know. You may be driving a car across straight lines and you may be close to a border. Immigration may just stop you there. Do you know what are they going to do if you're close to the border? They have the right to pick you up from your car, put you in immigration detention right and then and there. So better be careful. Do not violate your status in the United States. So these are some of my recommendations to people of what they can do. Now, what happens? Suppose if ICE comes to your doorstep. Not many lawyers have spoken about that. So I'm going to talk to you about it. Number one is that it's not necessary for you to open the door if they do not have a warrant. And sometimes I've heard this from people that actually they don't have warrants and they said that they have a warrant. So the warrant has to be issued by the state that exactly there's a reason for you, and the warrant should be on your name or from the federal government that there's a specific warrant for your pickup. So don't just believe the officer. Tell them, are you sure? Is this a legally valid warrant, officer, under the law? That's how you question an officer, and you can record the statement. Secondly, you don't have to volunteer any information. Sometimes they come to your house, they'll say, I'm looking for somebody else. They'll show a picture of some other person. And they'll say, okay, then finally they'll pick you up. Be careful. That's rule number three. Generally, these raids happen early in the morning or late in the night. This is pretty common. And if you're fast asleep and if you don't open the door, it's okay if you're asleep. And if you open the door, then after that, you have the right to still remain silent under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. So even if questions are asked, if they ask you to allow them an entry into your house, the other owner of the house, who's an American citizen, if there's no warrant on his name, then he can refuse entry under state law. That, do you have a warrant against me to search the house? Let me look at the warrant. If the house in question is searchable and the warrant says that the entire house is searchable, there's a difference between a room being searchable and an entire apartment being searchable. Look at the warrant under a microscope. And then tell them, before you come in, I need to consult my lawyer before I can allow you entry. That's your right under the Sixth Amendment, the right to counsel. Let them know, I would like to exercise my right to counsel before I allow you. That's your legal right. And most people get scared. Remember, folks, the law is the law. And I'm sure that you all have to be aware of your rights and you all are going to do well. And I do understand that a lot of people are tensed. I've been meeting with a lot of people. I've seen people coming in from different states to come in and see me. I've handled immigration cases for years, for many administrations. Talk about the Bush administration, talk about Obama administration, talk about, the Trump administration, talk about the Biden administration. I've been there, I've seen it all. So I've seen very tough times in the past when George Bush was the president, especially after 2001, when people were getting picked up. We have the experience. We've been able to help a lot of people, and actually, some of them were picked up and they even became citizens. So remember, where there's a will, there may be a way. But the best thing you can do, work with very seasoned immigration lawyers, especially because dealing with undocumented people, dealing with people who have deportation orders, dealing with complicated cases is a very, very hard thing. And especially if you have a criminal record, please be very careful. When you're applying for citizenship, be very careful if you have a criminal record. Because if you have a serious crime, when you apply for your citizenship, they can pick you up right then and there and detain you if the crime is an aggravated felony and if it is a crime that involves mandatory detention under the law under section 236 of the INA. So please be careful and stay safe. This is attorney Naresham Gehi from Gehi and Associates. Our website is gehilaw.com and we have offices in New York and in Dallas, Texas. So our Texas office is gehilawtexas.com and I'm in the New York office, which is gehilaw.com. And our number is 718-263-5999. You can visit our office in Texas or in New York, and we handle immigration cases from all over the United States and the world. It can be any type of immigration matter, including employment based immigration, family immigration, business immigration, deportation defense. We do it all. The instant program is an attorney advertisement. Prior results do not guarantee future outcome, and the statements made in this video are general in nature and do not apply to any particular facts and circumstances unless and until an attorney client agreement is reached into between the parties. Thank you. I'll be back again with our viewers. Keep watching and keep sharing and keep liking if you love this.